Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. I'm your host, Tina Dawson, the owner of True Blue Designs, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and share. Let everyone know we are on the air. We are streaming on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel at True Blue Designs. As you can tell by my voice, this change of weather has got me going. So, listen, put in the comments whether or not you all have turned on the heat. I have been trying my best not to turn on my heat, and my Nest thermostat has been trying not to turn on my heat, but I gotta turn on the heat. So you have to excuse me. I'll be drinking my tea throughout the broadcast, but not sick, but just stuffy because of the change of the weather. So keep me in your prayers, and we're going to get through tonight's show. Again, please like and share and let everyone know that we are on the air. Tonight's guest is back to give us fourth quarter personal and business planning tax tips so you can end your year strong. Accountant Reggie Bell is the proud owner of It's Bookkeeping, a firm that assists personal clients and businesses that have up to 50 employees. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the DECO Summit. It was a summit put on by Racoma. I am the owner of two Racoma machines, and I had the pleasure of having lunch with the CEO, Henry Ma. And it was 25 of us that were able to have lunch with him. And I hope some of them are watching. If they are, give me a shout out in the comments. But one thing he did discuss is that all business owners need to have a bookkeeper, but we need to have a certified QuickBooks accountant, somebody is certified in QuickBooks. And tonight's guest is that. So if you have any question, any personal questions, any business questions related to fourth quarter tax tips, hey, put them in the comments. And we're going to make sure that Reggie is able to answer them before the end of the show. Help me give a warm welcome to tonight's guest and my bookkeeper. That's my bud, Mr. Reggie Bell. Hey, you. Wait a minute. There you go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How's it going?
Doing good. Doing good. Doing good. I think it's been 3 weeks since I've seen you.
Exactly.
I'll see you again in another week.
Exactly. It's always good to be on the show, Tina. It's always good to come on and give out some tips as often as I can, so we can keep the people financially responsible, but also able to enjoy the fruit of their hard-earned labor.
That's right. That's right. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to have someone that's in your corner. I'm just going to remind everybody of this. They probably haven't seen our previous shows, but for those of you who don't know, I've had a CPA for 21 years. That lady has been with me for 21 years, or I've been with her. And as my business grew, she kept telling me that I needed to get a bookkeeper. She was like, "You're growing. You got to get a bookkeeper." And in, I think it was 2019, 2020, Reggie Bell was the first guest on our internet show. And we talked about that in another episode. But after his interview, I hired him on the spot because he didn't know that I was interviewing him for a position. See, that's how I get the information about folk. I put them on the show. And so I hired him right after the show. So that was 2020. And in 1 year, with having a CPA and adding a bookkeeper to my team, I was mad at him at the beginning of the second year because I had did so well and he streamlined me so good. He put me in enough tax bracket. mean I owe? Oh, but we laugh about that today. But we're going to start off by letting you tell the audience a little bit about yourself. We're not going to go deep in detail because they need to listen to the other shows that you were on. And
Mhm.
after you do that, let's talk about why it is important, whether it's your personal business or your actual business. Why
Mhm.
is it important for you to have a team of people to help you scale and grow?
So, a little bit about the business. So, the business started in 2020
Mhm,
when it was. This one did. After I lost my job due to COVID, you
mhm,
know, that was a great year for a lot of people. So, started this business with some guys, and it really grew because of the way the business was started was to get businesses, small businesses, running and proper and get their books proper because they were applying for government grants and the
mhm.
loans and all that stuff, but their books just did not would not get them in the door. They kept getting turned around and sent back, so on and so forth. So, long story short, it blew up, and um, now I'm the sole owner, and so just working hard. um, just acquired another finance company
Okay.
recently, and so
Congratulations.
thank you. And I believe the last time I was on your show, I was in transition, and now I am actually doing the show from my office here in
Right,
Charlotte.
right,
So I'm no
right.
longer working out of my apartment.
Yes, yes.
So I'm now working actually out of my Charlotte office in the nice, rich, I say artsy NODA area here in Charlotte.
Well, congratulations on that too. So
Thank
not
you.
only do you help your client scale, you're scaling along with us. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
so that's good. Why is it important? A lot of times with small businesses, Reggie, um, when I was in school, they talked about either is the business running you or are you running the business?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens as a small business, we focus on trying to produce whatever it is that we're offering to the marketplace. And we forget about certain things like branding, your finances, and things of that nature. It was only by the grace of God that I lasted for 12 years on a spreadsheet, on an Excel spreadsheet, and with Quicken. I had the cousin to QuickBooks, right? And I wasn't even stopped. And I wasn't even using Quicken to the full, but my CPA was like, I don't deal with the cousin. You got to get the parent. You got to get QuickBooks. But a lot of times we're in business by ourselves, and I'm just learning more and more that it's so important to have a team of people
Mm-hmm.
around you. So before we talk about the tax tips, let's talk about everybody, whether it's your personal accounting or your personal finances. Everybody needs to have a team. And like I said, for 21 years, my CPA was all I had,
Correct.
she was on my team.
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
So that is absolutely just tremendously important because if you think of any major corporation today, the major corporation has way more than one person that's running the show.
Right.
Usually, at some of these bigger corporations, the people that's running the show is really an inherited position.
Hmm.
Um, but then on the other hand, you have people who have built their company from the ground up, but they didn't build it by themselves. They had the team. And because no one person knows everything, and it's just like even on my team, when it comes to the legal aspect, I know tax law.
Hmm.
I know enough of that to be dangerous. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty tax law, I have a great friend who is certified 30 times over in tax law that I can
Hmm.
always pick up the phone and call and get information. Um, so I don't know marketing, but I know people, I have even clients that I say, hey, I got something going out. I got to go to an event in next month or so. Da da da. Can you design me a brochure so I can do for my business? Here's all the information, make it look pretty. See me my, you have that team of people versus trying to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Someone once said, and I don't want to quote the wrong person, but I once heard it takes money to make money.
Right.
You
Yeah.
got to spend it to make it. But
Yeah.
the goal is to make more than you spend.
Mm-hmm.
And so in spending the money, and when you want your brand and when you want your product out there, you can't be in 100 places at one time, but
Right.
you need your product in all these places. So that means that you've got to do what it takes to get the right people in place to get your product or your service where it needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have your accounting down packed to see, can I take this risk to hire or to put a certain amount of money towards promoting A, B, and C, or can I just promote A and B, hoping it brings me enough money, and then roll out C it to make it look like it's something different when it's been there the whole time? We just couldn't promote it.
Right.
So you got to have the right people in place to do that. If not, the business will run you, and then you won't be able to accept some of the larger projects that could have really had taken your business to where you could have only imagined it to go because you've been so busy in the weeds doing
Right.
stuff that you probably not even happy with doing. Um, I I take the accounting aspect for example. Most people that I know who are, matter of fact, everyone that I know who's in the arts
Mm-hmm.
and they have this artistic view of things and they're great at marketing and things of that nature, they absolutely hate accounting and anything associated with it. So so when it comes time to them having, if I say, hey, I need you to post all these receipts, they'll look at me crazy and say, no, just send me an invoice and you post the receipts. So that's the type of thing that you have to have the right people in place to move at the pace that you need them to move so that your business can grow at the pace that only you can allow it to grow.
Right. There is a lot of different accounting softwares. And I'm going to mention this because when we were at the DECO Summit, Henry Marga, CEO of Racoma, he kept pushing this point was that we all need to have QuickBooks and we
Mhm.
need to team up with a certified QuickBooks accountant. So let's talk about why even my CPA has pushed QuickBooks. So, what is it about QuickBooks that can help people on a personal and a business level? And why is it the accounting software that so many people are suggesting that people have?
So one thing that I would say that I love about QuickBooks is the ease of me to um, make sure that my clients have everything they need to make the right financial decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a lot. That's very like broad overview, a lot. So what I mean by that is, as a QuickBooks Pro advisor, as long as you're my client, I can just use my one login. And as long as you're my client, I can just use my drop down, click you as a client, and see what needs to be posted where, how it needs to be journalized, categorized, ABCD, reconciled, without having to go through 50 or 60 different other logins
Mm-hmm.
to remember that password for that log. It just makes all that easy. So it becomes almost like a universal system. Another thing I love about it is that it has so many apps. It syncs to almost every bank account. And then what I really love about QuickBooks Online, if you have an account that doesn't sync your daily transactions, and there are some accounts that we use, some things that that businesses still use, like Square, Venmo, and things of that nature, where it doesn't give me all the details, but now through like Cash App and all that stuff, you can now download a CSV or an Excel file
Mm-hmm.
that I can take that information and import it into QuickBooks from that file and match it to the transactions that hit your bank without having to do a whole lot of back and forth of asking you what went where. So it has so many different avenues and aspects that just really allow it to work to I'm sorry that allow you to tailor it to your business. In other words, it's in a box. but you can tailor it to do pretty much exactly what you need it to do so that your business can operate. One of the things another thing I love about it is that everybody doesn't call an office supply office supplies,
Right. Mm-hmm.
but in the accounting aspect or in the tax aspect, it's an office supply. So we can call it whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it peanuts in a farm and you want that to show in your spreadsheet, we can call it that. But I would sub it under the office supply when I put it on the chart of accounts so that when I run your reports or if somebody or if your tax accountant is doing your taxes, if they see peanuts in a farm, but they see as a sub of office supplies, they know, okay, all this total to the office supply line. So that's why it's very important to know someone, to have someone who understands the inner workings of it, but can also take time and understand your own business's language. And I think that's another thing that makes having a real good bookkeeper um, an asset is that if they take the time and understand your language, so they're not just trying to make you fit their system, but they take time to learn your language so that they can make the system be something that you enjoy using.
Well, I know my setup was daunting, but once we got everything automated, it made things just so efficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think with anything, because you helped me set up and implement an inventory management system, and the setup was daunting, but
Mm-hmm.
now I'm off to the races. So
Correct.
it's important to have the right tools. That was another thing that we learned at Deco Summit was it's important to have the right tools in place. You cannot scale and build without having your foundation. Your foundation is your tools in place. I've been telling you that you need to do some mini videos on different things about this QuickBooks because it encompasses so much. You can scan your receipts. You can auto track your mileage. It's just so much that you can do with the QuickBooks Online. It's really not expensive, but the what it can provide you, the efficiency can provide you compared to the price, it doesn't even compare. And I've referred someone to another business to Reggie, and he put them on QuickBooks Online, and now Reggie is like his best friend, and he
We play golf.
everything. Oh yeah. I thought me and you was gonna fall out on that referral because he just loves the system. So I just want to put that out there that he is a certified QuickBooks Pro, and that if you need that service, he is a actual accountant. So he does do taxes and stuff like that. And he can help you with accounting. But I just want to put that out there because we talk a lot about what I learned at the Deco Summit. I'm gonna have to do some videos on that because I learned a wealth of knowledge there. And I'm going to have to do what I'm telling you to do is cut it up in some segments to share the knowledge that I've learned. Because things have just really flowed when I got back because of the knowledge that I learned. And you said you got
I saw some of
it. Yeah, I forgot the eyes. But you said you got to spend money to make money, and that is so
That's
true.
right.
And it pays off. All right. So the reason why you are on tonight is to talk about these fourth quarter planning tax tips. We are in the fourth quarter, and people really need to prepare now for January. And so let's get into the tax tips. Let's discuss some personal tax tips. Are there any tax tips that you can give non-business people, just personal people? Let's hear it. Give us some tax tips.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to pace myself because we got a amount of time, but my information will flow across the screen. So
it's at the bottom.
You can always book an appointment. All right. So but seriously though, one of the biggest things that's a hot topic item in this day and age is electric vehicles.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
That's a big one. Everybody's talking about an electric vehicle. Okay, so that's
buying them.
They are buying them. Buy them new. Buy them new, and make sure that the dealership submits the proper paperwork to the IRS.
Mm.
because there's a huge tax credit for energy for electric vehicles. Now
Mm-hmm.
we're in the fourth quarter, so you may or may not get the full tax credit depending upon whether it meets all the specs in the fourth quarter. However, that could be something that you can plan for in January to get the full credit to purchase a car, or in the first quarter of next year. But definitely, if you've been on the fence about buying one of these electric vehicles that's out right now, go ahead and purchase it, because if you can, because even if you have to add additions to your home
Mm-hmm.
for like an additional plug and that costs money, well, that's also another tax tip about energy improvements on your home.
Mm.
So now that also now becomes a homeowner deduction as well, as far as things that you can write off on the personal side. So guess what started back in the month of October that we haven't had to pay in a while?
What was it?
Student loan interest.
Oh yeah. I forgot.
I got my email. So student loan, so student loan interest, you can deduct up to $2,500, and so in the tax year. So if you gotta, if you got it, you want to go on and throw some money on those student loans, then that's a thing too. So you can deduct up to $2,500 in student loan interest in 23.
Let me ask you a question about student loan. Do you know anything about the SAVE program that Joe Biden has put out?
I don't. I
Okay.
unfortunately I do not. I need to research it because you're now the third person that have asked me about that.
Okay.
So I need to look it up before I start telling people what I know. Because right
Okay.
now I don't
Got
know.
it. Okay. We all need to look it up before December 1st.
Yes, yes. 401k plans.
Okay.
So the maximum increase to 22.5 or 30 if you're 50 and over.
Okay.
So a trick with the 401k plan is that, for let's just say your company matches up to $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so you put in what the company matches. So that's a total of $20,000.
Right.
Well, you got another 2,500 just sitting out there.
Hmm.
If you can afford it this fourth quarter, throw that 2,500 on in there so you can have that as a deduction on your taxes for next year.
Okay.
So in other words, reach the max. If you can afford it, go ahead on and do it. Traditional Roth IRAs, that's now 6,500 or 7,500 if you're over 50.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, for those IRAs, you have up until April of next year to put that money in.
Okay.
So use that, use all the time that's necessary so you can reach those maximums. But don't put the money in April, file your taxes. And, if you know you're going to file early, going to put the money in early. So just so your timing and everything, you don't have to worry about he say, she say. I always like to, when I prepare taxes, I like to make sure that everything can be proven in
Mm-hmm.
case of an audit.
Right.
Because going on what you tell me now does not mean that that's what actually happened. I need to see it in black and white,
Right.
or blue and white, or red, whatever color you're in your printer print in. That's what color I need to see it.
Okay.
um, oh gosh, the health savings account.
Okay. That's a good one.
I think that's now $38.50 for self, and I think $77.50 for family. Now, y'all don't quote me on these exact numbers. Double check them, but I know that number went up just a little bit. Your flex spending account is 3,000 and something with employer plans that would allow a carryover up to, I think, like $610 or something. Like, it's some strange number, even 600.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people worry about their mileage.
Yeah.
So now this is from an individual standpoint, not a business standpoint.
Right.
So let's just say you need to drive the company, you got to drive your car on a company trip and you're not being reimbursed mileage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as long as you track the mileage for that trip and make sure you keep a mileage log that shows that trip and everything like that, you can deduct, I think the mileage rate is 60, I'm going through my mind, I think it's 65.5 cents per mile on the business side.
Mm-hmm.
For doctor's visits, let's just say, God forbid, you have a situation where you have to do a lot of driving to the doctor every other week or so. Keep your mileage logs, because that's 22 cents a mile on the doctor. which you go towards itemizing your expenses as well as the business mileage. And we really want to try to itemize what we can to increase that standard deduction, which actually is going to be harder this year because the standard deduction went up. so
Okay.
so it's going to be a little tougher to itemize, but you still want to try your best to do that. And then also your charity miles. That's a good number. It's 14 cents a mile. So I can remember that one.
Okay.
So your charity miles is 14 cents a mile. And then for those who decided to do that, that are adopting this year, then you can write up to 15,950 on adoption expenses. All those
Okay.
expenses, the legal and all that stuff, you get 15,950 on adoption. I was lucky to actually be able to discuss that with a client of mine who actually adopted this year.
Oh,
So that
wow.
was fantastic. They adopted pretty much the whole family. So that
Oh,
was
wow.
absolutely amazing. Oh yeah, took all the kids. I was like, all right, let's roll with it. um, Homeowners, that's a big one, Tina. Everybody went out, bought these houses. If you could, hey, do your thing. So when writing off it used to be way back in the day, and I say way back in the day, that's like 5 or so years ago, where your interest on your home was just a flat write-off.
Right. I remember that.
Now it goes to the itemized section, which means it's got to meet it goes into all those things that itemizes. So because of that,
sorry.
people say, well, I didn't get the write-off on every year I still get that. Well, I own a home, I don't see that as a deduction. Yeah, but your homeowner insurance on the $3,200, you didn't have any other things I could put on to help you itemize, so you didn't be able to take advantage of it, so to speak. But so that's one thing. Remember your homeowner's interest. You use your tax form that if you have a mortgage on the home that you'll get every year. I think that's at 1098, and home energy tax credits.
Okay.
So here are some more credits. Up to $1,200 for things like exterior doors and windows, skylights, and insulation. All those things to help improve the energy of the home. You get up to a credit up to $1,200. Now, if you're doing like heat pumps, biomass stoves, and boilers, that's actually $2,000.
Okay.
So that's a whole different thing. Now that costs a whole different thing too, but you get a bigger deduction available for that. And then you have what's called not just the home energy tax credits, but the residential clean energy credit. That's like solar panels and wind and geothermal. That's 26%. And right now, there is no annual maximum on that. So now be careful when you say you put in $100,000 worth of solar panels. In other words, don't go up and give your tax preparer information that's going to cause the IRS to come knocking on your door in the form of a letter, because they're not really door knocking without announcing themselves first. But they will send you that letter and say, okay, can you prove this for me? And if you can't, they'll take it away. They'll redo your taxes for you. Don't worry.
Right. They will redo them for you.
Yes, they will redo them for you. Say, if you can't prove it, this is what we're looking at that you're gonna owe. Yeah, you can go and send that check in 30 days. So those are. Oh yeah, they're going to find you. Like if they would have sent the IRS looking for Bin Laden, we could have found him a lot quicker.
Good one.
So those are the big things as far as personal that I just off the top of my head I just knew. Now remember, well, I guess Congress can still make some changes. I know I sent my application for Speaker of the House and I ain't heard nothing back yet, but I'm guessing they can still make changes. I'm still campaigning for Speaker of the House. So if y'all know somebody up there that can vote, just tell them I'm still here and I'm ready to go on any party, Democrat, Republican, Independent. I'll be a good speaker. I will get the government back working again.
But we're going to stop right there and we're going to ask the viewers, if you have any questions, please put your questions and comments in the comment section. And if you so that Reggie can answer your questions throughout the show. We want you all to be engaged in the show. So leave us some comments and let us know if you have any questions. All right, so let's talk about how to get the biggest tax refund for 2023. What are some tips that you can give us to lower our tax bills and increase our tax refund?
The first thing I mentioned kind of earlier is try your best to itemize.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be important to keep copious copies throughout the year, or notes and logs of, like I said, travel. Make sure you get all of your charitable contributions, those things that you donate to Goodwill and things of that nature. Make sure you get all that stuff documented so that you can really work on reaching that minimum, going above that minimum. Now, if you're single, then that minimum is now 13,850. It was 12,900. If you had a household, that's as another number. You're married filing joint. Now, again, that's married filing joint. So don't come up with $13,000 worth of expenses thinking that you can itemize. No, 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 no. You got to beat 27.7 next year. So there's a difference. So it's not that. So no, you don't come and say, we gave a $10,000 check to the Boys and Girls Club. That's cute. Hey, that'll work, but it ain't the minimum 27.7. So that we can get that number. So married filing joint. Now that don't mean go get divorced so you can don't do that. I'm just saying. You're in the fourth quarter now, it ain't gonna do you much good anyway. So
right.
But that so you just want to make sure that you meet those minimums. And I can easily just tell you what the numbers are and tell the viewers what the numbers are, but I like the viewers to somewhat get in the habit of kind of researching it a little bit outside of YouTube and Instagram posts that people make about writing off their dogs. So I like to try to tell people, go to the IRS website, and look at those tax brackets and stuff, because they are there. When you just type tax brackets 2023, boom, it's right there. So it's going to tell you what the standard deductions and things are for your filing status. And then it also tells you about, based on your bracket, what you are expecting to owe in taxes. And that's just fresh look without any other deductions or whatever. So if you look at your bracket and you do the calculation, and it says based on your calculation, you owe $37,000 in taxes based on your income or what have you. I know that sounds like a high number, but if you're in 152 plus, then that's about right. But so you take the 37, that's what you owe. You deduct the standard deduction from that, and then that's what you're responsible for. Then you deduct what got withheld from your paycheck. Oops. What got withheld from your paycheck? Oh, that's what a lot of people mess up. Okay. They like to go in the fourth quarter and make that change so they don't have any taxes taken out, and they forget to change it back the next year. And then they look at it when they're doing this in the fourth quarter, and they just put their hand over their face, because I'm like, yeah, Uncle Sam was going to want his money.
Yeah. Because I remember when I was working, I would file 10. Whatever the max was, I would file 10. But you have to understand that, if you do this, then this is the consequence, right? So if you don't, the less you get taken out throughout your year, you may owe, if you don't have enough expenses to counteract that amount or whatever else that you owe. But if you don't have any itemizations, then and then you file 10, like you said, if you forget to change it back, if you're gonna change it back, it should be in the middle of the year, so it kind of like balances out. But you're right, they totally forget, and sometimes they have a big check at the end of during tax season. I was gonna say at the end of the year, but during tax season.
Right. Yeah. One thing about Uncle Sam is he's gonna get his on the front end or the back end. The choice is yours.
Yeah. Okay.
It usually tastes better if he gets from the front end, don't hurt as bad. So I know definitely try itemizing, um, making sure that you make those or meet those maximums on all those retirement contributions,
Mhm.
the 401ks, um, and just things in that if the pastor been preaching about tithing all year and you ain't tithe, this is your time. This is your time. This is your sacrificial offering for the year.
And get a receipt.
If you ain't been doing it all year, now's the time.
And get a
So you
receipt.
can make sure you get your statement.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So let me ask you this. There is I had sent this information to you, and it's a little buzz going around online about a fourth stimulus check coming in 2023 that's going to be sent to eligible citizens soon as their updates. And I did not get it from the IRS website, but it is out there. So let's talk a little bit about that. True or false?
False.
Okay.
There have been talks with Congress to try to do a fourth stimulus check, so on and so forth, but that ain't happening. Not from the federal level.
Okay.
Now, during COVID, these states got billions of dollars. All 50 states got a whole bunch of money. And they have until December 2026 to spend it all.
Okay.
Well, some states built prisons with the COVID relief funds. I'm not calling any states in particular, but some, that's what they did with some of the money. Some states are saying, what we're going to do? We're going to give our state residents who filed a state tax return the previous year a stimulus during the fourth quarter of this year. So a lot of those fees are not necessary. The states got the money from the feds, and through the states, some states are disseminating checks this year. Now, usually, I'm be honest with you, states that you really going to see it in, if there's going to be a really close governor's race coming up, 9 times out of 10, if they got the money, they issue a stimulus check.
Yeah.
All politics.
Dangling the carrot in front of the rabbit.
And I would, and if whether I like that representative or not, I'm gonna take my check and spend it the same way.
That's right. Okay, so on the federal level, no, but on the state level, it just depends on, and people have to follow, follow their state government.
Correct.
What's going to happen with that? Okay.
Correct. And usually they can find it on their state's Department of Revenue website if they're going to be issuing a stimulus check.
Okay. Well, that little piece of information I didn't find on the IRS.gov. So I said, let me just ask.
When you asked me about it, I go straight to the IRS website. I said, no. I started looking through some congressional notes. I said, okay, well, not congressional, like actual notes. I ain't trying to have about show up at my house. But the feed from I'm still running for Speaker of the House.
Right. So let's talk about small business tax tips. This is going to hit home for me, but there may be some viewers out there that have small businesses, and let's talk about some of the things that they need to really cue in on before the end of the year.
So the first thing that I'm going to tell anybody who has a small business that's listening now and they haven't done so, stop using your personal account for the business. Right now I'm saying that. Nah, stop it, because that's going to make your tax preparation a living nightmare.
Isn't that commingling?
It's commingling. Some people do it real good, but just stop it, because if you get audited, now you got to get them your actual bank statement. Just stop it. Just go ahead to the bank tomorrow and open up an account. Leave work early, play sick, and go to the bank. And most of these banks you can do it online. So just go open a bank account.
Right.
So that's the first thing. So now, for those who already have separate bank accounts, now I'm going to put in a plug, and I'm maybe QuickBooks to send me some money.
Okay.
If you don't have it yet, go ahead on and get with the QuickBooks Pro, or get with somebody, or there are some good YouTube videos out there about this. Sync your account to QuickBooks, And if you have a very small business and you're not doing a lot right now, get
Mm-hmm.
the smallest plan out there and sync
Right.
your account, draw in all your transactions, and start categorizing your expenses.
Right.
And so, if you don't know what your expenses are for categorization, based on your business setup, go online and get that form. Case in point, if you have an LLC, go online and get a Schedule C.
Okay.
Those are the expenses for the Schedule C.
So it's like a cheat sheet.
It's a cheat sheet, and that's how you set up your chart of accounts. When I
Mm-hmm.
set up a client based on their structure, if they're a C corp, S corp, whatever their structure is, I always pull a fresh chart of account. I just go pull the form the form associated with there, and then I set the chart of accounts to roll up to how that sheet is set,
Okay.
and that's whether I'm doing their taxes or not. So
Okay.
that I'm trying to save them some money somewhere. So if you give your tax preparer your report and everything is rolled up like it's supposed to, so all they really got to do is just copy and paste numbers.
Right.
Hopefully that would save you a few dollars. If not, I apologize. I did what I could.
But like I said at the beginning, you know, setting it up is the time consuming part. But once
Mhm.
you have it set up correctly, everything runs automated. And
It runs it runs smoother
yeah,
than Kamala Harris's silk press.
yeah,
Smooth.
yeah, it
Smooth.
is. It is. Okay.
So another thing, so there are a lot of businesses that operate out of their home.
Right.
If you operate out of your home, have that one room that you mainly operate of, whether it's a bedroom, garage, bonus room, whatever it is, get the square footage of that bonus room, compare it to the square footage of your entire home.
Right.
So if your entire home is 4,000 square feet and that room that you're operating out of is 400 square feet,
Mm-hmm.
then that's how you would categorize. Then that's how you would put that on your tax return.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that, you will then put in all of the, instead of you trying to figure out what the percentage is, once you put in your office space and your square and your total space of your room, don't, unless you purchase something specifically for that office that goes along with the, say you had to buy a door,
Mm-hmm.
another entry door specifically for the office, then that goes on that column that says directly related to the business. Everything else goes on the right column that says indirectly related or what have you.
Okay.
So what is anything else? I'm glad you asked, Tina. Light bill. This is a bathroom down there. It is. Water bill. Do you operate on? Do you take internet to run your business? I do. Internet bill.
Right.
Uh,
Alarm.
alarm. Is the house? Is the room in the house? Yeah, you got an alarm.
Lawn service.
All of the things that go into operating and keeping that house standing fall into that category, and then you would get the percentage of the square footage of that room versus the house as a write-off.
Okay. Got
So
it.
now, listeners, look at me close. Look at me real close, right in my eyeball.
My tea.
Don't go on there telling them folk that your office space in your home is 90% of your home and you only living in 10%. Now, I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I do know the IRS has hired a whole bunch of people and they look for stuff like this
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to get promoted. Don't be the example. Just come on. That's once you do it right and you get in the habit of doing it right, then more deductions will come your way that you didn't realize that you had. But you
Right.
got to get with, if this is not your thing, get with a professional and talk with them.
Mm-hmm.
Most professionals will bill you a slight fee just for a consult for walking you through this stuff.
Right.
There are some people who will look over what you did, help you make corrections, and send it back to you. If you one of those where you just got to do it yourself. All those options, there are people out there. You got to look for them and find them,
Mm-hmm.
and make that conscious effort and decision.
Right.
Mileage logs. If you got one vehicle, you must keep a mileage log.
Mm-hmm.
You must. There are too many things out here that help you do that for little to no money. Mile IQ, QuickBooks. Tina, when you get in your car and you drive down the block, what's your phone saying? It's a business trip or a personal trip.
I cut it off. Bing.
so
Tell you,
so
I love that QuickBooks app.
so those type things, keep a mileage log. Keep accurate about it. Now, the easiest way to get to get your mileage expense, everything like that, is to just, if you have a separate vehicle, say, okay, this vehicle is going to be exclusively for the business, and you treat it as such. Do your best to treat it as such. Keep it exclusively for the business. What I was about to say, something about the vehicles.
What about repairs?
All the repairs and everything like that. If you got a vehicle just for the business, then all the repairs and everything goes on that. Now, you once you can use only the mileage right off, or
Or
the cost to keep the vehicle floating right off.
right.
That's why the mileage log is important. Last year there was a split rate, so the mileage log is very important. There's a rate from January to June 30, then a rate from July 1 to December 30,
Oh, wow.
December 31. So there was when we saw that additional block on there, I was like, hey, let me see your logs. They're gonna cut it. Now if you have like a ride, if you do like Uber and stuff like that, when they gave you your mileage and stuff, they already separated out based on your online miles what you drove in those 2 periods. So again, the logs are very, very important, because if you drove 15,000 miles, but you had $8,000 worth of expenses, depending on what the mileage rate is, you may get the miles or you may get the expense right off. So
Right.
if you choose the one that's better,
Right.
And you go at it that way, you look at both numbers.
Okay. But you don't know which one is better if you don't have the mileage log to compare it to, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you
Correct.
want to have a tax preparer that will give you the best scenario, right? They want to look at both, because you have some people that'll say, well, we're just going to itemize and or we'll just take the
mileage
auto repairs
Mm-hmm.
and not the miles, but the miles probably was a better bang for your buck than auto repair. So you want to have
Correct.
someone who will do it both ways and tell
Correct.
you which way is the best to give you the better bang.
Absolutely correct. Another thing that people mess up on are the meals. This is my rule for meals, and it's worked for me for years.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong, and if somebody can prove it that I'm wrong, or if you just disagree, my shoot me an email, tell me why you disagree, and we'll talk about it. I'll give you a free 10-minute consult to talk about it. 10 minutes.
Okay.
So the my rule of thumb is, if we go to a restaurant and we sit down and talk and we have a meal discussing the business, it's 100% write off.
Right.
At a restaurant. Now, if I go to the grocery store and pick up some snacks and you eat them throughout, anybody just come in and grab a snack or whatever, it's a 50% write off, because I don't have my logos or anything on the snacks that's showing that it's an advertising. So it's a 50% write off. That's my rule. If I go to the gas station and I grab a candy bar while on travel, I use it as a 50% write off, because you can consume it at any time. It doesn't have to be consumed right then and there. So that's my rule of thumb, and it kind of keeps me safe in the line. Again, I do taxes. I do my taxes for me and my clients as soon as I turn them in, the auditor calling tomorrow asking for proof.
Right.
So I want to make sure I'm able to prove anything that is sent into the IRS. And so, and because of that's really the rule of thumb I use on meals. Again, that's safe for me. If somebody told you something different and you want to talk to me about it, there's my information. Shoot me an email. We can set up a 10-minute consult. Anything after 10 minutes, you'll get an invoice. I say that jokingly, but I'm so serious.
So let me ask you this. Why is it that people should be very leery about commingling? And the reason why I say that is Hopefully nobody named Brad is watching the show. Okay, but if you are, I don't know you. But this is just an example. So
Mm-hmm.
Brad is starting a business,
Mm-hmm.
and at first it was a hustle, little side
Mm-hmm.
hustle, and he's doing very well, and he's deciding to turn it into what I
No. Go. I gotta. You said something. I want to write it on my whiteboard right here so I
okay,
can come back to
okay.
it.
So he it started as a side hustle, and it became lucrative. So he wants now to do it as a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in Georgia, you have to get your certificate from the state,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to get your EIN. And
Mm-hmm.
banks will not open you an account unless you have the certificate, the EIN, and some banks is $100, and it's different at every bank. I do Wells Fargo, and it's $100. So until he does that step, he's not really those three steps. He's not really in business, right? But
So
it's
right
time for
now
you
it's
to
it's
file
a
your tax.
side gig. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it's time for you to file your taxes, and you continue to run everything. Now in your mind, it's a full-fledged business, and you continue to run everything. Um, Continue to run everything through your personal account, right? So let's talk about the no with that and why that word commingling is a red flag to the IRS.
So what happens is for one, you don't really know how good whether your business is profitable or not
Okay.
when you do that because everything is just in one pot.
Right.
Now, if you have a system, an accounting system that as long as you are up to date on your transactions that come through that account, you can mark it as personal and it doesn't hit your profit and loss. It's your balance sheet in your
Okay.
equity section.
Okay.
So you're good there. If you're keeping it, you're good there. But yet and still, the issue becomes, for one, you're personally liable right now because you're not structured, you're not covered under any kind of structure. So
Okay.
right now, if you have a lawn care service and you break somebody's window, then that person is responsible because you don't have a DBA or anything or LLC. So you're doing it as you. So you are responsible for the window that got broke.
Okay.
So now
So
you have to
that's a
personally go
personal liability. Okay.
personal liability. So that's the biggest no for not following those steps to get that information to get you covered and get the right insurance on that. Now on the second level about that is once you have one bank account and you're doing all that stuff, the danger to that is you absolutely run this risk. There are cybercrime and stuff is so crazy right now
Yeah.
to where if you order some online and you didn't verify that account or that place was secure that you order from, because right now, especially like clothing and stuff, we're ordering clothes from all over the place.
Right.
And I mean the globe. And so you looking at this website thinking you ordering from somewhere in California, but
Right.
you find out that it's actually backed by somewhere in Russia or something along those lines. And so by the time you look up, it's $2 in your bank account.
Right.
Now because you can't operate your business and you can't operate your personal.
Right.
So that's another reason to keep everything separated. I even tell businesses like once you have like payroll and things of that nature. Well, first I always tell people once you have a business, you want an internal account, which means an account that nobody sees but you.
Okay.
In other words, that's the account that like almost like that's the account that you don't use for anything external.
Okay.
So everything just kind of settles to that account per se. But you'll use that account to transfer to other accounts as necessary.
Okay.
Then you want a front facing account. That's the account you have checks on.
Okay.
The only time you move money into that account is to pay something.
Got it.
You have a front facing account. So you keep us a little balance in there at all times. But let's just say you write a check for whatever, you move the money for that check into that account. That way, if that check is ever stolen or whatever, somebody gets your information, is limited to how much funds they can get.
Okay.
And then of course your savings account. So those are the three counts I always say you should have. Your internal kind of like right there account that's not outside. I always call that my deposit only account,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that that's the account that's connected to, like, if I use Square, that's my account
Mm-hmm.
that's connected to Square or
Mm-hmm.
Shopify or whatever. All of my deposits are flowing into that account. But
Okay.
as far as anything that I say, okay, this account's gonna be connected to whatever bill or whatever account, then that's my forward facing account. And
Okay.
then of course now my savings account. And then once you have payroll, I recommend you have an account just for
Just
payroll
for payroll.
so
Yeah.
that you
I
sweep
think
your
of
money into the payroll for that.
yeah.
Um, and that way, everything is always balanced, everything is always good, and is always set to go. Now, what I was gonna say when you mentioned him having a gig, for those cash out people and Venmo and Zelle and all that stuff. Yeah, so the IRS used to do this thing where they would only require you to, you know, you only get a statement if you had like 200 different
Right.
transactions.
I remember.
No, no, no. Now you're not getting a 1099 or 99 NEC. You getting the 99K, I believe it's a form, which shows like almost like a credit card processor form that you get every year that
Okay.
shows like this month we process this much worth of transactions on your behalf, that much transaction on your behalf the next month, so on and so forth. Then it has a total at the very top. So if you have over $600 in cash apps or whatever coming into you, you will get that 99K that 99K form
Mm-hmm.
next year. So this is the danger of that form though. So let's just say you have all these cash apps and stuff coming in, and they keep coming in every year, and every year you're not filing or claiming that as income. You might want to give it a tax professional, see how you need to get that coded so that it's accounted for.
Okay.
Because if it's gifts, they need to be coded as such. If it's truly income and you're not doing a Schedule C, you need to get with a tax professional. Say, hey, okay, so I've been doing gig economy. This is my Schedule C. Now, be wary of that because the thing I don't want you to get confused on is that, especially for like Uber and Lyft and things of that nature, if you like doing it full time, you may get the 99K, but you're also going to get a 99 NEC. So the NEC, they give you that for your tips if they're over $600.
Okay. So you have two. So okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
so be weary of those type forms and don't be in a rush to do your taxes. Give yourself time, give everybody time to get all of the forms submitted. Because if you work for someone for like a small business or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
these businesses don't have to actually submit those forms to January 31st.
Right. Correct.
So give yourself until like mid-February before you actually start trying to file your taxes. Because if you go to a tax preparer and if they're like me and you say I'm ready to file and I file and you call me 2 weeks later, oh, I got another form, you pretty much have to pay to have your taxes filed all over
Right.
again. Because
Right.
that's a your fault insurance.
And what is the key phrase when it
The
comes
more I do,
to
the more you pay. The
the,
less I do, the
the
less you pay.
says Evelyn Rosier,
100.
Top
100.
Solutions Group. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I told you she only had to tell me that 20 years ago, and she never had a problem with me again when I got that bill, and never. And she said that she has to tell people about my story because they don't believe Fatback Greasy. And
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that there are different price plans out there for QuickBooks. And I just want to encourage the viewers to go out there and search. QuickBooks Online is really not that expensive. I think I got it for less than $50 a month.
Yeah,
Um,
that's when you first
and
got it.
huh?
That's when you first got it.
Well, yeah, that's true. And I did that for a while. But still, you know, it's really not that expensive when you compare it to all the things that you can do and how it can make you more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you have a business or not, you still need an accounting software. It will really help you out. Um, Reggie also said that, you know, you have accountants that can give you a la carte service, and
Mm-hmm.
that if you're pretty good and you just need somebody to ask some questions and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, you know, he's there. And there's some other accountants that are there, so you just have to do your research, and and look into that. Also on the QuickBooks website, if there's a QuickBooks certified person, there's a place on the website where you can type in and you can find you a quick, I call them a QuickBooks Pro in
Mm-hmm.
your area. I am going to put the information down at the bottom. I know that Reggie gave you a lot of tips. You know, I'm going to suggest that you replay this recording, and you know, feel free to share and send it out. And I'm just want to say as a testimony, um, you know, having that CPA, you know, there's only certain things that she's going to do because a CPA is high level. um, and she kept telling me that I needed to get a bookkeeper, and the main thing that um, Reggie has done for me, he's been my accountability partner, right? And he has trained me to keep my eye on my money. We have monthly meetings to go over my sales for the previous month. He gives me strategies on how to scale, grow, forward, and different techniques that I can do for the next month to uh, help my bottom line. So
Mm-hmm.
again, it's some of the best money that I pay out monthly. I don't mind paying them because I know what I'm going to get. I have somebody that's in my corner, and it's just been a blessing. Just to foster our relationship. We knew each other before I hired him, and he had no clue about. He knew what I did, but how I did it, he had no clue. And so once he said at the beginning that you want to have someone that really sits down with you and understands what you do, how you do it, and where you want to go. Because
Mm-hmm.
their job is to get you there, strengthen your foundation, and to get you there. And I am a witness that it works. It's the best money ever. His information is at the bottom. Feel free to give him a call. And I'm going to put it out there that if you're calling and you say you called because you saw him on this show, he will give you a free 15-minute consultation. So I'm putting it out there, free 15-minute, but you got to say you saw him on the show. Look, free 15 minutes. And I'm going to tell you
30,
why.
30, 30.
See, that's even better. So he'll give you a free 30-minute consultation. All you have to do is say you saw him on True Blue Designs internet show. If you can't remember the whole entire Presents the Inside Perspective, but he'll give you a free 30-minute consultation. And I promise you, within that 30 minutes, he'll be able to tell you what you need. And it has just been a blessing to see. It's been exciting to see my company grow and scale. And I thank you for being there with me. I thank you for being a partner. And I thank you for being you know, a part of my community. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any last things that you want to, last tips you want to leave the viewers before we get off?
So I really just want to say, viewers, just make sure that you use this quarter to really start compiling your documents, making a list of those things that you're going to need, that you've been involved in. Start making your list now, so that in January, whatever you haven't compiled, you just kind of get everything ready, just all together to sit down and actually do your taxes. It doesn't have to be a scary event, but you want it to be more of an informative event. What did you learn about your spending,
Right.
about your investing, about your business? What did you learn about it, and how can you make it better the next year? Because when it's all said and done, your tax return is your summary for how your business performed,
That's
especially
correct.
if you have a business.
Yeah. Well, we are going to end tonight's show. Your information, I'm going to let it scroll one more time at the bottom. Remember, everyone, he's going to give you a free 30-minute consultation. And if I was you, I would take him up on it. I would take him up on it. I'm telling you, it's going to be the best 30 minutes of your life, and you're gonna leave that 30 minutes with
They can, and Tina, to be honest, but that's 704-981-6006. Just text. You ain't got to call. Just text the number. Because if you
Okay.
call and I'm in a meeting, then you got to go through the process of leaving a voicemail. Just text. You know that's what we do. Text the
Okay.
number. I'll get back with you a lot quicker that way.
Well, that's his office number, 704-981-6006. Reggie, I thank you so much for every time I call, you come on the show. I thank you for talking with some of the people at Deco Summit on the spot. I really appreciate that. You've always been ready to share your knowledge with people. And I just really appreciate that. Small business owners and just regular people who don't know. The government has a scare of IRS, and but you don't have to be scared if you do the right things. And then you partner with the right people. If that day ever comes, you're going to be fine. And I've been in both of those situations. So, if you have the right people in your corner, you're going to be fine. I thank you all so much for tuning in. Reggie, you hold on. And but I thank you for tuning in tonight's show. You can continue to leave your comments once the show is ended, and Reggie will check the broadcast. And if you have any questions, he'll look at it and then he'll answer you sidebar. So thank you so much, Reggie. I appreciate it. And I will be seeing you again in a week.
Yes.
Back at it again. All right, everyone. We have a new live interview coming up next Wednesday. So hope you will tune in. And I will see you next week. Same time, same place. Good night, everybody. Where's my outro? There we go. Wow.